video, I will discuss some ways that you can give your preschoolers more responsibility, and I'll also be talking about why you should do that and the awesome outcome that happens when you do that. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Celeste, and on this channel I provide classroom management strategies, tips, and more to new preschool teachers just like you so that you can run your classroom effectively and efficiently. Alright, so let's get into why you should give your preschoolers more responsibility. When you get your students in your class, basically what happens in the year is, for me, for when I was in the classroom, is, you start with classroom jobs, but then throughout the course of the year, they pick up on different things that are going on in the classroom where they are able to actually do those things as well. So you are able to give your students more responsibility to do things that aren't necessarily part of the classroom jobs, but above that and beyond that, that kind of also helps the class run. They also want to have more responsibility. There have been numerous times throughout the year where the children will want to help you do something, whether it's helping you with a particular lesson. They want to feel a part of it and in those decisions and making things happen in the classroom. So they want that. So why give your students more responsibility? For one, it fosters independence. So they are taking care of the needs of the classroom as well as their own needs. And this means it requires less of your attention so that you are able to focus on other things. Another reason to give them more responsibility is because it develops a sense of community, because it feels like we are all working towards the same goals. And they have a sense of ownership in what happens in the classroom. And the third thing that I want to mention, there are lots of other things, but the third thing that I want to mention in this video, which piggybacks off of that second thing, is that they learn to work together and support each other, which I think is really important when we're talking about relationships. And part of classroom management is relationships. So those are just a few things or a few reasons why you should give them more responsibility. What are some ways to give your students more responsibility? I'm going to tell you about things that I had done in my class to give them more responsibility, and they loved it. And these are perhaps things that you can do in your classroom as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is circle time. So at a certain point in the year, they know the routine. They know the routine by heart. So one thing that I like to do at the end, like towards the end of the school year, I like to give the children an opportunity to do circle time. It can either be a part of circle time, like one section of circle time, or it could be the whole thing. Like I said, they sat through X amount of days listening and watching and engaging in the same routine over and over again. So they know it. So I've asked them, if anybody wants to do circle time or do a part of circle time, and there's so many different hands. So that's one way that you can do it. And it's fun to just watch them see what they have learned throughout this whole time and see their little spin on it as well. Another thing that you can do is have them pass out materials. This happens throughout the year, so this isn't necessarily something that I would wait till the end of the year, depending on what it is. But there is one thing about waiting towards the middle of the year. So if it's something that is the same thing, so I'll qualify it by saying if it's something that is the same thing that everybody gets, then I can start earlier in the year. For instance, if it's a notice from the office about upcoming event or something, then they can, the child or the children can put the papers in the cubbies, and it doesn't matter. As long as they're able to do one-to-one correspondence, it doesn't matter where the paper goes. Towards the middle of the year, they have seen their friends' names, their classmates' names. They can read their friends and classmates' names. They know what it looks like or the shape of it. They're able to now do the passing out of the papers where it involves them recognizing a classmate's name and then finding their name on the cubby. Depending on the material, you can do it earlier in the year, or you may have to wait till it's later in the year when children are able to recognize each other's names. And materials, I don't just mean papers, I mean like any kind of materials. Like if you're having your small group table or area on the rug, then you can have them pass out the markers, the glue, or the construction paper or something like that. Another thing that you can do is have them pick and lead the brain break activity. So depending on how you do your brain break activities, for like transition or what have you, you can have them pick and decide what that's going to be, and then they can lead it. You can pick a child for each brain break activity, or you can pick a child a day to lead it, to pick it and lead it. So that's something fun that they can get involved with and get everyone else involved in. The next thing I want to share is setting the timer. So what I would do is I would have a child put the timer on. After a while, they just knew, and it wasn't them actually winding up the timer. It was just, picking a number and then turning the start button on. So setting the timer for when cleanup time was or when the activity was supposed to end worked really well. The next thing is one of my favorite things, and this happened again towards the end of the school year, is children reading to the class. They loved it. So you have your reading time, whether it's a reading time that takes place within a transition time, or you have a specific time at the end of the day, kind of like a wind down, right before lunch or nap time, or wind down at the end of the day. Instead of you reading the story, you can have a child read the story. So now this depends on a couple things. So one, if it's a story that is their favorite, that they've heard throughout the year, they don't need to be able to read it to tell the story. So they can just simply retell it. And then there are some children who are able to read, so then they would get the book that they are comfortable with reading, and then they can, read to the class. And you'll find that they'll be asking questions like how you would normally do, ask questions during a story or something like that. So it's really fun to see that happen. And it's amazing how focused the other children are on the child that's reading. They actually behave as if that child is the teacher. It's so funny to see. If you would like to know more ways that you can give your students more responsibility, I have a list of 25 things that you can have your students do. All you have to do is just click on the link in the comments. So I want to touch on just a few things that are really great outcomes or really great effects of giving the students more responsibility. So what I want to say is that these outcomes are directly related to the classroom management. The first thing I want to say is that it encourages self-control, because they need to be able to carry out these tasks that are given. And with all of these things that I'm about to tell you, that doing this one thing filters over into other parts of the classroom and other parts of their behavior as well. Another thing that happens is they become more accountable for their actions when other people are depending on them for doing something, and they don't want to disappoint their classmates or anything like that. So they become more accountable for their actions. Another thing that happens is because they are more invested into the classroom, it creates more of a positive environment for learning. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a community. It's a community that each person in the room is a piece of this larger puzzle, and that everyone working together and supporting each other helps the goal get reached. And another thing that happens is that it enhances problem-solving skills. And this is great because, again, it can help them in other areas of classroom life, like resolving conflicts. I've witnessed these things happen in my classroom, and that's why these are some of the things that I wanted to touch on in this video, is because seeing a child or a group of children or even the whole class go from A to B because you are giving them more responsibility. Because it's almost, when you give more responsibility, it's saying that you trust them to do this, to not only do it, but to do it well, so that you're able to give them something else and give them something even more, more complex as the year goes on. So I really think that if you have not begun giving your children more responsibilities, then you're kind of missing out on a great opportunity to get your classroom management to the next level. I've had little friends that were easily distracted or impulsive, and just having them sit next to me holding the book that I was going to read for the class, it changed the whole dynamic of that circle time. When they are given a responsibility, they take it pretty seriously. So just the mere fact that I gave my friend a book to hold changed everything. So I just want to encourage you to think about what are some things that you can give to your students that could help them succeed as well. All right, so who would have thought that giving your students more responsibility could have some wonderful effects on classroom management? I know at the time when I was starting out and doing these things, I had no idea that they were going to turn out. But now that I know, I can pass these ideas along to you. So I hope you are able to do this in your classroom. So give this video a like, share, so that other new preschool teachers can find it. And go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video has been posted. Until then, I'll see you soon. Bye.